Hello, ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? It's your boy 47, and today I am back with another video. And now this is a very, very much requested video on my channel. A lot of people have been asking me for my settings. So I decided, you know what, it's time to make a video on it. I've had numerous comments on both people in my Discord and on Twitter and on YouTube and everything of people asking what my settings are. And just before this video starts, I just want to say, just because I'm comfortable with these settings doesn't mean that you will be comfortable with these settings. And a lot of people don't realize this. People think that, alright, this dude's good at the game, I'll just copy his settings and then I'll be good at the game. Well, that's not correct. Alright, I know a lot of some of the best players in the game who use very contrasting settings to each other and from myself, but these are the settings that work for me, and I constantly am experimenting with these settings to decide which is the best for me, because I know as of recent I've actually changed my sensitivity and my DPI because I've dropped it down lower, and I'll go through the reasons behind that. But yeah, basically these settings may not work for you, but they work for me. So if you're going to use them, I'd highly recommend trying them out because I think they work very, very well. But that doesn't mean you will. So with that, I think it's time to just get straight into this video. Alright, so the first thing I want to get into is my performance settings. Now, everyone, if you have a jacked ass PC, alright, you'll probably be able to get a better resolution and stuff. But I'm rocking with a 0.6 resolution because it roughly gives me about 120 frames usually. I know if you check up here in the top right hand corner, it won't be that, but that's only because I have a few things downloaded in the background. That's why I'm actually recording this now, because I don't actually need a high FPS, so I can't really play or whatever. So I'm recording this video now while I'm downloading stuff in the background. But yeah, I usually get about 120 frames with this 0.6 resolution. I find that if you go anywhere beneath 0.5, everything gets very pixely. Like, see that there, 0.1, even 0.3 is very pixely. 0.4 you probably get away with, but 0.6 for me is spot on, because if I go any higher, I start losing frames. And although it looks better, I think 0.6, it's a minimal difference, realistically, between 0.6 and 1. So I go with 0.6 because I think it suits me the best. Now, the second thing is frame cap. I obviously have that in 0. I don't want to cap my frames with a terrible PC. I want as many frames as I can get. The second thing is aspect ratio. Now, this is basically if you want to stretch resolution. I just play on the default. So I don't really know. I thought it was 1920 by 1080, but my monitor size obviously isn't that. So here is my default aspect ratio. I don't play on any stretch settings. I think it messes with the game. So I never really bothered using stretched. If you do want to see me using stretch, I will link a video that I've done. It's kind of a meme edit video, but I'll link that in the top right hand corner. If you want to check that out, that's me playing with stretch resolution for the first time. Now the second setting is low spec. Now, look, if you guys are only playing Conquer for fun and you're not planning on recording, or if you're playing in a tournament or anything, I highly recommend putting on low spec. It'll give you that little extra boost of FPS, and it doesn't really affect the game that much. It only gets rid of the legs of a player model. But since I'm recording and I use it for montages and stuff, I'm going to need to have like the best settings that I can possibly get for that, which I find is having low spec turned off, because I think it just adds an extra factor to the montage. Now, the second few things is particles, shadows, ambient shading, and bullet trails. Now, I like bullet trails so that I can raise when I think I hit a shot, and it goes through the man, but obviously the ping wasn't there or something, so I like having that there just for my self benefit. Second thing is ambient shading. Now, if you have a very bad computer, I highly recommend turning off particles, shadows, and ambient shading. Like I said, I make these montages and I have to have it at a standard of quality, so I like to have them on. But if you do have a very, very bad PC and you're only playing for fun and you want to get as much FPS as possible, I highly recommend turning these off. It'll give you that little bit of an increase. Now, the second thing that I find very different to a lot of people is my UI scale. Now, if you see my gameplay, which I'll show now, my UI scale is very small. Now, this does affect your crosshair and stuff, but to me it's minimal, and I do enjoy to have as much space either side as possible. Dude, I swear I've got kicked for inactivity every fucking 2 minutes when I'm recording this video. I got kicked for inactivity about 3 times, dude. Yeah, I like to have my UI scale down to a 0.3 because it gives me the most space. I think it looks the cleanest. But I know a lot of people use it a lot higher. I just prefer to have it on 0.3. I think it suits me the best. I don't like to have it too small, like 0.1 where I can't read anything. But I really enjoy 0.3. Then, of course, I have show UI on, dynamic HP bars, show hit indicators, show damage. Now, my damage color is green and my critical color is white. Now, this is actually just because I have my entire Krunker is teamed around Ireland, which which a lot of you probably won't understand yet, but I'm actually releasing an Irish mod pack pretty soon, which is why you see here the CTF flags and stuff. They're all kind of different color than you'd normally see. So that's the reason behind any of these custom colors. Now, the second thing is my damage scale. I have that on 0.8. Instead of 1, I just think a little bit smaller makes it look a lot cleaner. I've all these turned off. I never really bother with the show streak. I probably should turn it on, but I don't know. I feel like it's just unnecessary for the things I'm doing. I don't really feel a point in it. Alright, so the next thing is the speed X and speed Y offset. I don't bother with showing my movement speed, so I have that on default. Show medals, I have that on. Name tag display, of course, I have that on. Now, my crosshair is here, and if you want my crosshair, I will put a link to my Discord in the description, and you can find my crosshair, scope, everything like that in my Discord server. It's on the hashtag custom scopes channel, and you have everything there, everything that I use in game, apart from the stuff that I have only set to my mod pack, because I'll be releasing that pretty soon. Now, gameplay wise, this is what it's on about. My X sensitivity is 0.8, and so is my Y sensitivity. I like to have my sensitivity both the exact same for when I'm just wandering around, because it's best for slide hopping, in my opinion, because if you guys don't realize, when you have a low FPS and slide hop, you have to strafe a lot with your mouse either side. I like to have that default to 0.8, and I don't actually recall my DPI right now. I'll show it on screen. I'll check it after I'm done recording this video, but here's my DPI, and I think it really works well for my type of playstyle, and especially if you have high FPS, or if you have low FPS, I mean. Now, the second thing is aim and aim sensitivity, alright? Now, my aim sensitivity is 0.7 and 0.6. This is purely for the fact that if, I'll show a graph here now, I don't want to get too technical about it, but X and Y sensitivity, so your X is going vertically and your Y is going horizontally, right? And when you're aiming on someone, when you're trying to get a flick over, I like to have my X sensitivity a bit low or a bit higher than my Y sensitivity, so I don't go up or down, but I can still flick over to either side. And I like to have it a little bit lower than my regular sensitivity. So when I'm flicking over, it means that I can flick straight across rather than going up diagonally and across. So that's kind of just my thinking behind it. I just prefer to have that a little bit lower, so I can always hit heads, basically. It's so I can always go for the headshot, so I have my mouse lined up for the headshot the whole time. Now, my field of view is, of course, 120. If you guys aren't the best at aiming, I highly recommend dropping that down to maybe 100, maybe 90, something like that. It just means that people look closer to you, but for what I'm trying to do, if I see it allows me to be able to see someone out of the corner of my eye. So if you have good aim, I highly recommend putting it up to 120, because it means you can see people either side of you a lot easier than if you have your FPS, or if you have your FOV all the way down. It also makes the game look easier, in my opinion. Now, lag compensation, I have that on 1 usually, when I average around 20 ping or so, but if I'm going anywhere up to about 60 ping, I put up to 0.3, and if I'm playing at anywhere above that, I usually go to 0.5. I highly recommend dropping that down to 1 as much as possible, because it makes you feel as though you have some input lag, even though you don't. So I highly recommend leaving that at 1 if at all possible. Now, for the rest of the settings, scroll direction, I have that on. Streamer mode, I don't actually keep streamer mode on because I don't really bother with it. Challenge mode is here too if you like to use challenge mode, and I don't have invert Y-axis on. Now, controller settings, I haven't actually played with controller yet, so I don't really know what to tell you if you do use a controller, but I'm hopefully going to make a video on that soon. I still have to record it and stuff, but yeah, I plan on making a controller video soon, especially because this new Dead Zone thing is out, and I think this will help a lot with controller players, so that'll be really good. The next thing is audio. Now, I actually have my sound all the way to 0.1. This is only because I don't really bother hearing it that much. I have it set so I can still hear it, but not a whole lot, because I usually listen to music when I'm playing Krunker. Now, I highly do recommend, though, if you are struggling to the game or you're playing in a competitive game, I highly recommend putting this all the way up as high as possible. It will make the game a lot louder, but it means that you can hear people either side of you and stuff like that. If you want to know more about that, I'll link a video again in the top right hand corner about how to get used to sounds and movement and stuff in Krunker. I'll leave that in the top right hand corner if you want to check it out. Of course, I have voice volume all the way down because I really don't want to hear any squeakers screaming in their mic while I'm trying to record a video or stuff like that. So I just turned it all the way down to 0 because I'm not listening to a squeaker basically talk for that long. So now the next thing I have is my view model. Now a lot of people, like, this is where it gets kind of different because a lot of people like to have their FOV really high or very low, and I like to put it near enough in the middle. I like to have it 95. Sometimes I go up to 100 depending on how I'm feeling, but I usually stick to 95. I think that gives the best depth perception for your gun. Now my weapon bobbing is 0.6 and my weapon leaning is 0.9. I think this gives the most natural effect to the gun, and I think, like I said, when I'm always making montages and stuff, I think this is the best look if you're trying to go for montages. If you're not, I highly recommend putting it all the way down to 0 because it means that it's not, your gun isn't putting you off at all when you aim. But I prefer to have 0.6 and 0.9 because it makes it look the most natural. Again, I don't mess around with the X and Y and Z offsets, but I know a lot of people that do, so if you do want to do that, you can. I just find that it makes the gun look a lot more natural, like I said, for montages and stuff, to have it on 1. Now, I know a lot of people do hide weapon on ADS, but like I said, again, for montages, I think it looks the most natural to keep that turned off. But like I said, if you do want to play to the best of your ability, I highly recommend turning that off. Alright, it clears up a whole lot of view distance on your screen, so it really improves your gameplay. And I know when I was playing competitively a lot, I would turn this off, but I would actually also turn off show weapons. Like, I would just completely turn them off because it clears up a lot of your screen. So if you are playing competitively and you're not shooting for montages, I highly recommend turning off show weapon. Alright, now, the editing is where it gets very original, I guess. So, basically, I like to have, like I said, I'm releasing this Irish mod pack. So, for the sake of that, I usually have my colors either green, white, or gold. So, I have my hood health on orange, my health low on green, and my pop-up score color on green. Now these are all just customizable, whatever your preference is, whatever color you're going with. I usually match my skin with my aesthetic. So as you can see here with this mod pack, it's green and orange, as you see in the background there. And I like to have my dude kitted out in full green, so I rock the acid skull and then my custom gun, which is the carbon with a bit of outlining on it. My pop-up score skill, again, a bit lower than normal because I like to have everything neat and tidy, like I said in my UI portion of the video. So I just like to have that a bit smaller than normal. Now my pop-up X and Y score offset, I just like to have it on 5 and a bit higher so it gets out of my way when I'm playing the game, basically. So I have it on 3.7. Now the next thing is saturation. Now I know a lot of people play with very low saturation, and I think this makes the game look a whole lot duller. This is how the game originally comes, and that looks very dull in my opinion. So I like to have that all the way cranked up to 2. I think it makes the game look very vivid and it makes it pop out a lot more. Again, with the saturation in the UI, I like to have that just a little bit higher so it stands out a bit more from the rest of the game. Of course, this is completely due to preference, again, like I said, but especially when you're picking out enemies and stuff, the higher you have your saturation, the easier it is to see people. Color hue, again, this is only an experimental thing. If you want to play with that, I don't know why you would, but you can play with it if you really want. Next thing is vignette. Never really bothered with it. It literally only adds a bit of distraction on your screen, so I never really bothered. Chat opacity. This is a new feature, and I haven't actually got to play around with it. And I think I will play around with it, but for now, I'll probably leave it on 1 just to have it there. I like having it there, but I probably will play around with this in the future. Like I said, I usually experiment with all of my settings, but for now, I'm going to leave this on 1. Same with chat BG opacity. I'm going to leave that on 0.2. That's the default that it comes at. Of course, I have load mods, auto load mods on again. And now these are all my scope images, my match end message, which is use code 47 in the KOR shop. Remember, if you're watching this video and you've stuck all the way through, make sure to buy some KOR with code 47, baby. Alright, support your boy, alright? You know I got the potato PC in Ireland, so support your boy. Code 47 in the KOR item shop when you're buying KOR. And, yeah, for the rest of my stuff, my profile image, like I said again, in my Discord, link in the description. Join the Discord, open #custom scopes, and there you go. Use damage overlay. I have that again, which is my Irish flag, which I very much like. Then for performance, I have unlimited FPS, of course, and streaming window capture. Now, when I am streaming, this is just a hint for anyone who is streaming on a very bad PC. I have my window capture turned on. But when I'm streaming, I get very low FPS. By turning off your unlimited FPS, it turns on VSync, which makes your frames stabilize a lot. It will give you a slight input lag, but it allows your frames to stabilize at what they would be rather than spiking from, say, if I turn off unlimited FPS, I would get about, or if I turn on unlimited FPS, I meant to say, I would get about 40 FPS to 70 FPS constantly. But if I turn that off, that would make it so that I have a constant around 50 to 60 FPS. So it doesn't fluctuate as much, so it allows the game to play a lot smoother. But yeah, that's all my settings, dudes. So if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, drop a follow, and try out the settings for yourself. Let me know what you think. I really enjoyed them, obviously. That's why I use them. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy, make sure to drop a sub, drop a like, and yeah, good luck, dudes. Peace. All the pain.